Okay, hello everyone, welcome from me. My name's Sanghadharin, and I'm going to be leading the meditation in the main shrine room today. So just to check, this is for people that are familiar with the Metta Bhavana as taught here, so I'm going to be ringing bells and won't be guiding through it, so just check everyone knows the stages. Great. Okay, so yeah, let's begin by, we'll just spend a bit of time just letting our mind and body just settle down. So we want to get into meditation posture. I'll guide us through about a 15-minute or so body scan, just to settle us. Yeah, spend a few moments getting comfortable. If there's anything else you need, like any extra cushions or blanket, just go and get that now. And when you're ready, closing your eyes. To begin with, you may just want to take a few deeper breaths. Just let your body know that you've arrived. And changing gear. Moving our mind and our body in the direction of relaxation. Unwinding from wherever we've come. Letting our body settle. Letting our mind settle. So begin with, feel your contact with the floor, the chair, the cushion. Feeling that contact. Really try and feel into how it is. Not an idea. The actual experience of your contact with the floor. And imagining your weight pouring down into the floor, giving you a strong and stable base. Feeling grounded, supported. You can even imagine your center of gravity going further and further down into the floor. Making you feel even more grounded, supported. out of this strong, stable base. The upper half of your body is almost floating, upright, aware, but also relaxed. You can imagine a thread lightly tugging on the top of your head. Giving you an effortless lift. The rest of your body gently hanging down, lengthening. Now broadening your awareness to the whole body. Seeing how it feels to have this strong, stable base in the lower half of the body, connected to the ground. An upright, aware but relaxed upper half, almost floating on this strong, stable base. Trusting that this posture alone is helping us unwind, let go, relax. I'm now going to move our awareness through the body. As we move our awareness to each part of the body, we're going to use our imagination, imagining any tension, any holding on, releasing and letting go. When we use our imagination in this way, the body and the mind often follow. You're starting at the crown of your head, feeling any tension in the crown of your head, and then just imagine it softening, releasing, letting go. Giving an increasing sense of lightness, expansion. Moving your awareness down to your face. If you're holding any facial expression, just let it go now. Nothing to hold on to, nothing to show. Feeling into the forehead and the eyebrows, softening any frowning, any furrowing. Moving your awareness down to your jaw. So often we're clenching our jaw throughout our days. Just see if there's any clenching now. Just letting go, softening the jaw. Feeling into your neck and shoulders. Again, we habitually hold a lot of tension in our shoulders and neck without even realizing. So we can just imagine this tension dissolving away. Feeling increasing sense of lightness, expansion. Becoming aware of your arms, upper arms, forearms, hands. Letting go of any clenching in the fists, any gripping. Again, there's nothing to hold on to. Becoming aware of your hips and your pelvis. Softening, releasing. Moving your awareness down to your thighs. Lots of our stress is held in our thighs. We feel any tension, any contracting, letting it release, let go. Becoming aware of your knees and lower legs. Imagining all the tension in your lower legs pouring down into the floor, out of your body. Feeling into your belly, feeling into any knots, any contraction. Just allowing any tightening in this area to soften. And becoming aware of the solar plexus and the chest. If there's any tightness, any closing down in this area. Again, just imagining it opening up, releasing, letting go. Now expand your awareness to fill your whole body, but with most your awareness still in the area of the belly, the solar plexus and the chest. It's where we often feel our emotions in our body. So although we're aware of the whole body, our awareness is primarily in our belly, solar plexus and chest. Now just spend a few moments here, just seeing how you are right now. It's almost like the emotional weather of the mind and body. I'm not trying to change anything. Just really directly experiencing how you are right now. Letting go of any effort. When you're ready, opening your eyes. We'd like to come out of meditation posture. Rafi, would you be able to just go and open the door and see if there's anyone else? Okay. Hiya. Great. So yeah, welcome if you just got here. So yeah, we're going to be doing the Metta Bhavana tonight, and I won't talk for very long now. But so what I'm going to invite us to do today is kind of what we started doing there, was to really just try and stay in touch with our direct experience. So when we're meditating, we're using our mind to look at our mind, but often we can just kind of get caught up in thoughts, and it's kind of a bit misleading, the language of mind, because from a Buddhist perspective, mind is kind of it's the mind and body and heart. It's like the emotional aspect, and that's often found in the body as well as the thoughts. And the fact that when we talk about working on the mind, it can often feel like, oh yeah, we're working with our thoughts, but we are also working with our body and our emotions. And it's important in meditation to stay with our direct experience, because if we're, especially with practices like the Metta-bhavana, where we're using our imagination, if we're not staying with our direct experience, it can often just go into thinking, basically. So as we're bringing people to mind, if we're not really in touch with what's going on for us, it can just be a form of thinking, a form of proliferating. So what we need to try and do is just stay in touch with our direct experience, and that kind of act as an anchor, so that when we're then using our imagination and we're bringing things to mind, we're seeing how we're responding and how our mind is responding, and we're working directly, not just with our imagination, but with our emotions, and it's often found in the body. And yeah, so at the end of the body scan, I was inviting you to become mainly aware of the heart, well, the chest and the solar plexus and the belly. And like I said, that's kind of the emotional center of our body. That's where we'll feel most strongly how we're responding to things. But it's not that we close off our awareness to anything else. It's kind of, you want a broad awareness, but with most of the awareness in this area. So you kind of think of it like 70 to 80% here, with 20% around as well. And you don't need to worry too much about what percent you're on, but it's that kind of thing where it's not that we're closing down our awareness onto this part, but it's just this is where most of our awareness is, but we do have a broader awareness of our whole body. And I'm going to invite you to just bring people to mind and just try and see what your response is when you're bringing them to mind. The practice is often referred to as the cultivation of loving kindness. That's the bhavana, it's the cultivation. But here we're going to try and I invite you to just try and see what your response is. So try and be true to what your response is and what's going on. And that will be found in the body. It'll be found in this area here, in the emotional response to what's coming up. So in a way, just don't try and make anything happen. Don't try and cultivate loving kindness. Don't try and have an idea of what you're trying to do. Just doing the practice, bringing them to mind and seeing what your response is. As you're doing that, just keep an eye out for any expectations that you feel are there in your meditation. I'm going to talk more about expectations in meditation in the second half, but in this practice I'm just going to invite you to just try and see, do I have expectations of what's meant to be going on or what's meant to be happening in my meditation? Expectations of, this isn't right, or this should be like this, but it's not. And just, you don't want to get too much into trying to watch that, but that's what I'm going to talk about in the second half. So it'd be good if you could just kind of try and see from your own experience, what expectations are you bringing to the meditation? Because we're always coming in with expectations, and it'd be good to try and start clocking them, because then we can work with them helpfully. So my invitation is to try and just be aware of the body, especially this area here, and just as you bring people to mind, just try and see how you're responding authentically, not trying to make something different happen, but try and see how you're authentically responding, and try and spot any expectations that you have in the practice. So we'll meditate for about half an hour. So if you want to get into your meditation posture now, and we'll do a 30-minute period of the Metta-bhavana. If you need to get a blanket or any extra cushions, go and get it now. Maybe have a look over there, but if they're not in the back there, then there's probably not any left. Just spend a few more moments getting comfortable, and then when you're ready, closing your eyes. And tuning back into your posture. In contact with the floor. Giving you that strong and stable base. The upper half of your body almost floating, upright but relaxed. Allowing your awareness to fill your whole body. But with a slight emphasis on the chest, solar plexus, and the belly. As we go through the practice, as you bring people to mind, just seeing what's your authentic response as felt in your body. And see if you can spot any expectations of what should or will happen. Metabhavna. Now, staying in meditation, but bringing the last stage to a close. And resting with your direct experience, seeing what's going on for you right now, especially in the area of the chest, solar plexus and belly. Not trying to make anything happen, just seeing what's going on right now. So we've got a couple of minutes till the tea break now. So what I'd like you to do now is just turn to the person next to you and just talk about, did you spot any expectations that were coming up for you, in either in terms of the meditation as a whole or any of the individual stages? So yeah, just find someone next to you and just talk about, did you spot any expectations? If you're online, if you could put it in the chat, that would be great.
In general, when I just don't feel anything.
So do you like expect not to feel anything? Or do you like...
Yeah, I don't really mind. Well, sometimes other action, so I take it. I wouldn't say they actually feel I didn't say for emotions here.
There's a number But do you ever like tense up? Like if you're feeling anxious? And when you're like sad, what do you feel sad?
So yeah, before the break, I asked you to talk about what expectations you had, and what we're doing here when we're looking at expectations. So, in Buddhism, we're looking to transform the whole being. We're looking to transform all of ourselves, and one of the things that we're trying to transform is our emotions. So that's what we're doing with the Metta Bhavana. We're working with our emotions, and we're trying to transform our emotions. But also, in Buddhism, it talks about views. And how we need to transform our views. And in Buddhism, it talks about how views shape our experience. So they're not just opinions we have, they're actually the lens that we look through our life through, which then shapes our life. So when we're looking at expectations, we're actually looking at things that are going to shape our experience. So would anyone like to share any expectations that they noticed that they bring to meditation either now or they know they do at other times? Yeah.
I think sometimes I feel like you want your heart to be super open and you want to be open to everything. Then you're like cold. Like, why is this not happening? So you're like expecting to like my heart's gonna open and then it doesn't happen.
And what effect do you think that has? If you have the expectation that you should have a big open heart and that doesn't happen, what is the result then of that?
You start overthinking it, and then you don't give yourself a chance to letting that happen because you're so focused on making yourself do it, which is not something you're gonna.
Yeah, so you can get so caught up on what you think's supposed to happen that you actually lose touch with what is going on, and that stops it naturally unfolding. Yeah, that's a really good example of how expectations can affect our meditation. Yeah.
Well, I expect to feel. I was just saying, I don't feel like anything ever so I don't expect to feel anything, and I never do feel anything. So, but it's funny. I feel reassured because I heard one of the teachers saying that you can that they didn't feel anything for ages, but yeah, so I don't expect to feel anything, and I don't feel anything. So I'm a robot.
Yeah. So I guess there's the how do you think if you go into it with the expectation of I'm never going to feel anything, what do you think what effect would that have on your meditation?
Probably don't expect. Do tend to give up, but yeah. Yeah, so I think there's two things that might go on there. There's one, if you expect that, I'm not going to feel anything, you then end up not looking, and then there's a chance that actually there is stuff going on, but I'm just not looking. So there might be things there going on. I'm not saying you're necessarily doing this, but that might happen if you have the expectation that, I'm not going to feel anything. It just limits the possibility to feel anything. But then the other hand, if you have the expectation that you should be feeling something, and then you don't, you then end up beating yourself up about it and feeling like, I'm not actually doing it because Sanghadharin's up there at the front saying I should feel things in my chest and I'm not, so I must be rubbish at this. So that's the other end of it. So you can see how all the expectations that we have are actually just alienating us from what's actually going on for us, and stopping and limiting what could happen. Any time for one more? Yeah.
I think that when, as I'm at the moment in kind of an early stage of trying to establish a consistent practice, expectation is everything when it comes to deciding to meditate. I'm expecting that I'll feel not anything in particular, but in general, better as a result of meditation. During meditation, I'll feel more relaxed, more a little bit at peace. So I think that at that stage, expectation kind of is everything for getting practice established.
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. So what I'm talking, I'll clarify because that's a good point. What I'm talking about here is that once we're sat down on the cushion, to then expectations aren't helpful. But of course, when we're going to meditate, we have an expectation that it's going to help us in some way. Otherwise, why would we do it? Yeah. So when we're going towards it, and when we're going to do a certain practice, you might have an expectation. I know that the Metta Bhavana helps me cultivate loving kindness and helps me feel more connected, and I know that mindfulness of breathing is going to help me concentrate. So it's not that outside of meditation you're not going to have expectations. I think that would just be unrealistic. But once you're sat down, then kind of dropping any idea that you know what's going to happen. And yeah, thank you. That's a good clarifying point that I'm talking about in the meditation now, because obviously when we're going about our life, we're always going to have expectations, because that's why we do something. We think, oh, if I do this, then something will happen, so you do it. So if we go into the meditation expecting a certain result, it can often make us force or push something in a certain way that then abstracts us from our direct experience and from what's actually going on. And with the Metabhavana, we may feel like we're meant to feel a certain something in every stage. So, for example, you bring the good friend to mind, and then you're like, okay, so I should feel just warmth and this fuzzy, warm, loving feeling for them. And then if you're then trying to make that happen, you're then closing off to actually there might be a more complicated thing going on with that, or it might be more subtle, or there might actually be more love than you were expecting, but because you were trying to make a certain thing happen, that would limit it. So in if there's expectation around what each stage should look like, and also with the neutral person, I can often find I have an expectation that, this is the stage where I get distracted. So I kind of just give up. It's kind of like, this is the distracted stage. So I'll just let myself get distracted. And then next spell, now I'll go to the difficult stage. So it's kind of like within the practice, we can have different expectations of what's going to happen. And for example, say you bring someone to mind in the difficult person stage, in the enemy stage. If you're expecting that you're just not going to be able to feel anything for them, if you're expecting, there's not going to be any sort of well-wishing there, you're then limiting yourself to what's actually going on. Whereas if you can just stay with your experience without those expectations, you can see that actually we are just complicated. We have complicated relationship. We have complicated responses to people, And then, so we want to stay open to the possibility of what might happen in the meditation. I'll share a few examples from my life how I know my expectations just limit my meditation. So I meditate quite early in the morning. I have to leave quite early for work. So quite often when I'm meditating, I don't have as long as I'd like to. And there's just a view there that, I don't have very long to meditate, so I'm not really going to get absorbed and nothing's really going to happen. And by having that view, it just means that I just kind of accept that, and it's kind of like, that is just what happens because I don't have much time. I'm about to go to work. So in a way, it makes me not really try a lot of the time, when it's definitely not true. I've had meditations where I've got a really busy day ahead and I've got really absorbed and a lot's happened, but just because I go in with that expectation, often it just shuts it down. Another one is quite often on the Wednesday night class in the second slot, which we're in now, I have the expectation like, I'm just too tired to meditate. So it's kind of like I can clock off sometimes and just think, I'm tired, so nothing's really going to happen. I'm not going to get absorbed, so I just I don't really put in effort. Whereas actually, I could just fully engage the same way I would any other time and see what's going on for me. And tiredness might be a part of that experience, but that doesn't need to stop it unfolding and deepening and getting absorbed in it. I wasn't planning this one, but just from the first meditation, I definitely clocked like a expectation that because I'm doing the bells, I'm just not going to get absorbed. And actually, because I clocked that, I could actually work against it, and I could actually really try to engage despite that view. And I actually had a much more absorbed meditation than I normally do when I'm doing the bells. So you can see how if you can spot the view, you can kind of stop it having its power on you so much. So I think as much as we can, being aware of the views that we're bringing to our meditation. There's a term called beginner's mind in meditation. I'm sure you've heard it in lots of fields, but there's like a Zen book called Zen Mind, Beginner's Mind, and that's like the title of it. And it's basically a whole book about that, about how when we have a beginner's mind, we have kind of an open, receptive mind to the possibility of what might happen. And lots of people report having extremely strong meditation experiences in their first few months of practice because they literally have no expectation of what's going to happen. So it just kind of allows them to get absorbed. And I've had that when I've been taught new meditation practices before. For the first couple of weeks, it's just so vivid, so much happens, and it feels so engaged. And then after a couple of weeks of doing it, it's kind of oh, I know what happens now. So it kind of then just a routine forms and an expectation forms, which kind of then limits it and stops it unfolding in the way that we'd like it to. So I hope we've kind of started to see how our views that we hold in relation to meditation are going to affect our meditation. It's opinions aren't just something that kind of float up here and we just live our life and they're kind of unrelated to our life. It is our views and our opinions that completely shape our experience. There's a metaphor that we can think that our views are like the fish swimming around a fishbowl, and they're all swimming around in there. But actually our views are the bowl. Our views are what hold everything, and everything happens within. So as much as we can, be aware of our expectations of meditation, our expectations of what's going to happen, and then try and let go of them if we can. And we can do that by trying to be aware of what do we tend to go towards, what does my view tend to be, and then just try and let go of them. Yeah.
What about if you're stuck with a very strong emotion? So sometimes I try to meditate and all I can feel is like anxiety or extreme boredom or something. And it's easy to say let go, but then it just feels like it's still there. So what would you recommend?
Well, I guess what I'm talking about here isn't letting go of. So what you've described there is kind of you did hear while you did it. So you're obviously feeling that emotion in your direct experience, and in a way that's a really good thing to meditate with because it's a strong direct experience. It's kind of unmediated by concepts. You don't have to conceptualize about, I think I'm feeling some sadness or some anxiety here. It's just you feel it. You can't help but feel it. And actually, if we can stay with them in a kind of soft and open and compassionate way, so we're not trying to change it, not trying to push it away, but just allow it to flow through. That's just staying with direct experience and letting that flow. And you'd often find if you can do that for long enough, your emotions do start to flow through and you can start to be free of the difficult emotions. But obviously if it's getting too much, if you're just getting so anxious, then you can just kind of get up and maybe do something else for a while. But yeah, I think what you described there is actually if we can stay with the direct experience without going into stories about it, then actually that can be a really positive thing. I guess an expectation in relation to that might be, I'm feeling anxious, therefore I'm not going to be able to meditate. Yeah. Whereas actually it could be a really interesting thing to meditate with and a helpful thing to help go deeply into that. Yeah.
Thank you.
Okay. So yeah, when we're doing this, just invite you to try and be aware of what you're going into it with, what expectations you're going into it with, and if you do clock them, just try and let them go. There's no real technique for that, but even just seeing them does just remove a lot of their power over you. So just trying to go into this with what we'd call beginner's mind. The danger is having an expectation of what beginner's mind is going to do and then getting caught up with that. But yeah, just keeping an eye on the views that we're going into it with and trying to just not let them shape our experience and stay open to the possibilities of meditation. Yes, if you'd like to get into meditation now. So again, we'll practice the Metta Bhavana and we'll meditate for about half an hour. Just making yourself comfortable. Okay, I'm just going to spend a few moments just resting in our postures. We've just had our minds full of conversation during the tea break and then discussing meditation. Just let our mind begin to settle again. Our body begin to settle. Feeling the bottom half of your body rooted to the ground. Upper half of your body floating, upright but relaxed. And bring our awareness to the torso, the emotional center of the body. Not trying to make anything happen. But using this part of our body as an anchor to our direct experience. Metta Bhavana. Now dropping any effort. Staying in meditation posture. Just sitting and absorbing the effects of the practice. Okay, so that's it for tonight. Yeah, it's been really wonderful being here with you tonight. I hope you got something out of the sessions. If you do get things from coming to these classes here on Wednesday nights, please do consider giving a donation. The classes are run completely by volunteers, so all of the team and all of the order members teaching here are all free to give their time to do this, just because we think it's the best thing we could be doing with our time. So all the classes are put on completely free, but we do rely on people's donations to help us keep running and offering the classes to people. So yeah, if you can, please do make a donation, but obviously if you can't, you're still every bit as welcome at these classes. So yeah, if you could help us put the mats and cushions away, and then yeah, hopefully see you again.